name is Lexi Jong, and here I like to talk about luxury makeup. Today we are talking about the new Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Concealer. I do have a wear test that I will show you this, as well as a couple of different application trials. And then I also have a clip showing you what I have found to be my personal favorite way to wear this concealer. Now, this is the Shade and Illuminate Concealer. It's coming out very soon. It's available right now if you call a boutique. So it's available in boutiques for Tom Ford, but it's not available online yet. I believe that's going to be coming out beginning of September, along with the blush duos. This retails for $90 US. So, definitely not an inexpensive concealer. So does it live up to the hype? Let's see. Now, just a few product details. This is 0.18 fluid ounces or 5.4 milliliters. And again, I mentioned that it is $90 US. It's made in Italy and it has a 6-month shelf life. And that's going to be true, essentially for any sort of liquid product that you're putting near your eyes, essentially. So I think that's pretty common. The ingredients, I will leave them listed down below in the description box. So if you need to see anything in there, feel free to check that out. Anyway, I ended up picking up the lightest shade, 0N0 Blanc. And I did take a look at, my SA sent me some swatches of the 5 lightest shades. And there's a big jump. So this is going to be the fair neutral shade. But, there are a whole bunch of other ones like, fair cool, fair warm, and so forth. But then to get to the next one that was labeled as neutral was a huge jump in color. So I took a chance to try this one. You can see that we have a doe foot applicator here, and you can see the amount of flexibility. Do you see that? See how it bends? And this is 0N0. Now, oftentimes for me, concealers are too deep. Usually like the lightest shade in some of my favorite lines, they are still too dark. So usually what I do is I put them on under foundation, and I've just really come to prefer putting them on under foundation. So that's what I do. Let me just show you how this blends out. And I do think this color was actually a really good color for me. It gives a little bit of brightening. And you can see how it blends out. And I have to say that this concealer stays put for me all day and it doesn't crease, provided you use a small amount. If you're using thin layers, you can layer that up. I've gone as far as trying 3 layers, put on 3 very light layers, and I've had no creasing, over 15 hours. If you're going to use a lot of product, you're going to get creasing, but I think that's going to be true of any concealer. So you really just want to use a little bit of this. And I have to say the concealer that it reminded me of the most is Pat McGrath. So this is shade L1, which is, it's a little light. So I usually mix it, and surprisingly, it's just a little bit cooler in tone than this one. It's a little bit less neutral, but it's basically just as light. The difference comes when you blend it out. So look at the Pat McGrath blended out. You can see there's still more of that white cast. It's a little bit pastier looking compared to the Tom Ford. And you can see that really kind of sinks into the skin a little bit better. And it has a little bit of a radiance, whereas the Pat McGrath actually has more of a matte finish there. Sorry, I'm spilling things. So just a few other shade comparisons. This one here is the Sisley Phytocerns Éclat, and this is shade 1. So that's the lightest they make. So you can see how, as I mentioned, it's deeper. So it's a little bit too dark for me. Even blended out, you can still see that peachy, beigey tint to it. This is the Chantecaille Le Camouflage Stilo in shade 1, which is a nice shade for me. So I'm going to put this one right here. Let me actually get a little more product up. It's almost empty. But this one is one of those radiant pens, and you can see that color-wise is going to be fairly close. The Chantecaille is slightly peachier in tone than the Tom Ford, but the color is close. So if that's a good color for you, then this one, I think the 0N0 is pretty similar. Although there is, it's probably a little bit closer to the cool version instead of the neutral version. Another one is the Clé de Peau Radiant Corrector for Eyes. This is Ivory, which is the lightest. And I do use this one. I love this formula a lot. You can see it's actually going to give a lot of coverage. It blends out very nicely, but you can still see that there's a little bit more of that like beigey almond kind of tint to it. So again, I love it and it works great, but I always have to put it under foundation because otherwise I can see it. And then this is the Armani Luminous Silk Concealer in shade 3. I have to say, I don't really wear this one, but here's that. You can see it's gonna be warmer in tone. It's a little bit more yellow. And it's slightly deeper, but you know, honestly, this one's a little bit darker in shade 3 and a little bit warmer, but it blends out not too badly. I think it's just the warmth in this one that makes me not really reach for it. So just so you can see these swatches up close, if you look at how they've blended out, to me, the ones that look best blended out would be this Tom Ford, because you've got that like kind of radiance there and you don't really see anything there. And then also this Clé de Peau. Those are the two that I think, you know, really look the best blended out. You don't really see product, but you get the coverage. And you have, you know, this one's a little bit more radiant. This one's slightly more matte, but there's some radiance here as well. But I think those would be my two favorite finishes. Hope you can see that on the camera. So let me go ahead and share these clips with you. The first demo has a couple of different application methods. You can see what happens when you put on too much. And then the second demo has a wear test update after 9 hours. And I have a note about 15 hours because I forgot to actually go back and film it, but honestly, it looked the same as it did at 9 hours. So you can see how it holds up throughout the day. And I did not cover the concealer with foundation, so you can see how the concealer wears on its own. Now, I did have the Surratt Perfectioniste primer on my face, but I didn't put it under my eyes. I put the primer probably about here. So, you know, the area with the concealer did not have primer, but just a little note there. Okay, so we're going to try out the new Tom Ford concealer. This is the lightest shade 0N0 Blanc. I'm not sure, I wasn't really sure what shade would work for me, so I decided to try this one. Just going to go with a tiny touch here. And let's first start with the fingers so I can kind of see the consistency. And I don't have foundation on. I actually like to put my concealer on underneath, because a lot of times it's hard for me to find a great concealer shade, and I think this kind of helps, you know, kind of correct any colors there. So that is one super light layer. Let's add a little bit more. And this time I'm going to go in with a brush. I'm going to take the Jumbo Concealer from Sonia G, and I'm just kind of pouncing. So that's more product than I would normally use, but I just kind of want to see how, this is just testing phases. So you can see there's definitely too much product there. Let's see. Okay, so what do you think of the coverage? I'm gonna get close so you can really see everything there. Right, so I'm gonna apply some to the other side. This time I'm gonna take the wand. I'm just gonna get a little bit on the brush directly and apply it that way. I just wanna see how this goes. So you can see how much product I have on the brush here. And let's just, so what's left, I'm actually gonna wipe off on a cloth because that's too much for me. Just gonna put this on. So here's an up close shot. All right, so I'm gonna apply my foundation and I'll see you in a minute. All right, so I used the Chanel Ultra Latent. This is the new formula in BD01, which is the new lightest shade. And I really like the color match for me. I think it's a really great match. And here it is with the concealer. I don't really go over the concealer per se, just like a little bit. So, you know, it's what, you know, whatever. But I did set the foundation just a little bit with the Givenchy Prisma Libra in #1 Mousseline Pastel. I did not set under the eyes though. So just a little bit, very lightly dusted all over the face. All right, so right now all I have on is the Surratt Perfectionist Primer on my face. Nothing else. We're gonna take this, just gonna take a tiny bit on my finger here and kind of put that out. So you can see I actually use just a very, very, very little bit of the concealer because I want to see how the lightest possible layers work. You can see that this spreads out really well. So that is one really light sheer layer versus nothing. Bring you in closer. Okay, and just gonna get a little bit for the other side. I actually got more, so I'm gonna wipe this finger off and then spread this out. Yeah, I still have more. Let me wipe some of that off. So I really want lighter layers here. So I switched fingers just to make sure that I'm not, you know, smearing in any like excess. Okay, so that's a little bit more than this side, but this is how it looks. All right, and we're gonna build that a little bit. So I'm gonna get a little tiny bit more. You know, I wiped it on my cloth. I've got some sparkle because I was cleaning up a spill with this cloth and I totally forgot. So just gonna put a little bit there. And any sparkle you see on my face is just residual from that spill I was cleaning up. There's definitely no sparkle in the concealer. All right, so that is 2 very light layers. And that's where I'm going to stop. I don't want to, you know, completely cover everything. That's not really how I use concealer personally. I try to make things look better, but not unrealistic. So here's that. I'm going to add some foundation and I'll show you what it looks like afterwards. Just show you how this looks up close. You can see it definitely gives a brightening effect, which for me is a novel thing from a concealer. So I'll see you in a minute. All right, so this is what it looks like after adding foundation. I only went to here with the foundation, so I did not cover the concealer. So that way we can kind of see how it performs throughout the day. And this is it. So let me show you this from a distance. All right, so here we go. This is what everything looks like from a distance. And overall, I think it really did a nice job of hiding some of the darkness under my eyes and adding some brightening. Let me know what you guys think. Okay, it has been 9 hours since I applied the concealer and I'm just gonna come in close so you can see how it's holding up. I do have a little fallout from the eyeshadow or the mascara today. I'm not quite sure which. So here is the concealer. Again, I did not set it with powder and I didn't go over it with the foundation. Let me know what you think. All right, so after wearing this concealer for I don't know, close to a week now, I've decided how I like to do it. So what I like to do best is I take it out, I wipe off any of the excess from the wand, just put like a little dot or 2 dots depending on, you know, how big the dots are. And then I like to blend it out. Now, either with my finger or a brush. I'm not a sponge person, but this is the Synergy Jumbo Concealer. All right, so, and I like to put it on underneath foundation. So this is 1 layer versus nothing. So although those look bigger, they're just longer. It's not more product. So I don't go for really heavy concealer. So 1 layer is really all that I want. I have to say that I'm really enjoying this concealer. All right, and that's it for concealer. I'm going to finish my makeup. All right, so I hope that was helpful. And I did forget, I wanted to also swatch this concealer. This is another concealer that's new to me. It's the newly reformulated Chanel concealer, and I have the shade BR02, which is one of their new lighter shades. So you can see this one has a doe foot. And let me know if you guys are interested, because I was thinking of doing like a, you know, comparison of these two in particular. You can see that this one is light, but it's going to be rosier. Notice that all of these others, like even the Pat McGrath, which is a little bit rosy compared to the Tom Ford, this is still going to be cooler in tone. And this is how this blends out. So this one's going to be more of a matte finish, but you can see how smoothly that blends out. So it's definitely a nice concealer. Let me know if you guys want a dedicated review on the Ultra Latent Foundation and the concealer. I wasn't sure if that was something that you guys would be interested in seeing or not, but I did pick up the foundation and the concealer. So let me know. Now, as for my thoughts on this concealer, I think this is actually a really, really good concealer. You know, the first day I wore it, I was like, it's nice, but it reminded me a lot of the Pat McGrath. I had a little bit too much product on, and, you know, I was like, oh, it's nice, but is it worth $90? I was like, I don't think so. But I have to say, the more I've been wearing it, the more I'm loving it. And, you know, I've been wearing this, I think, 5 or 6 days now. And I have to say, I really do love this concealer. So I love the radiance and the brightening that it gets. I like the fact that there is a shade light enough to give me brightening under the eye area. I think it performs really well. It's easy to move the product. It does set down. You don't need to set this with powder at all. It will set. And, you know, if you are somebody who is worried about creasing, or maybe you have too much product on, take your finger, and if it's warm from body heat, you know, just pat it down right afterwards. Make sure you don't have any product that could be settling in creases, and just let that foundation, or let that concealer set. And, you know, as long as you're using light layers, it's gonna look beautiful. You know, like, you can put it on with your fingers or a brush. I mean, you can, if you're a sponge person, go ahead, use a sponge. The key is just to use a little bit at a time, and I think it gives you a beautiful finish. One of the things that I think is different about this concealer compared to others, you know, not only do you have a better shade range than some of my favorites like the Clé de Peau, but I also, personally, I like concealers with more of the doe foot applicator versus the brush click style type product, because you can't really control how much product comes out from there. And I like being able to have a little bit more control over that. So I like the applicator, I like the color range. And for me, the biggest difference is that little bit of sheen to it. You know, if you're thinking of like the Clé de Peau Radiant Natural Foundation and things like that, that have like kind of that more like natural sheen to it, it's not as glowy as something like that. But there is, you know, a radiance to it, a very subtle radiance, which I think helps reflect the light around that area. It helps diminish, you know, the appearance of dark circles because of that light reflection. And yet you're not seeing product on your face because it blends out so well. So, I mean, I'm going to bring you in closer so you can see this right now. Again, I don't have foundation covering the concealer. I only went to here. So I'm going to bring you in close so you can see what that looks like one more time. All right, so look at this. You can see the coverage. You can see the way the light hits it and how you don't really notice any dark circles. And if you looked at my favorite application there, that was today's application, you can see, you know, how much coverage I got from the product. I think, you know, for one light layer here, did a great job. You can see I've got a little fallout here. I forgot to clean that up. So overall, I have to say that this concealer, although it's $90, I think it is, for me, worth the $90. I think it does a fantastic job. Again, for me, it's hard to find, you know, a great color, and they have, you know, a more extensive color range in this than some of my other favorites. And the performance on this is fantastic. So, you know, as much as I don't want to love a $90 concealer, this is a product I love and would repurchase. So I think it's really great. Again, if you are interested in this and you pick it up, just remember, go with light layers. And I hope this is helpful. Please let me know what you guys think. Again, let me know if you're interested in seeing more about the Chanel concealer and foundation as well. And I will see you very soon. So have a great day and stay safe and healthy.